Just for those who are watching online, we have the praise this week because we have our carpet in. Woohoo! Although it's still a bit echoey. Kind of a little bit, huh?
But it's pretty.
It's pretty, yeah, but it's a little bit I can't even talk. Echoey. Anyway, so that's a praise at least. That's in. Now on to the rest of the building to do that. But anyway, so last time, I gave you a homework assignment. Okay, so I kind of quickly went through it and did my answers. So just in case you cared or wanted to do it or wanted to have cheat sheet, here's what my answers were, okay?
All right, nice.
I'm not sure how tired I was that day and how it came out. But anyway, so that's for you. So for the people who are online, it's posted in the group so they can get a copy if they want it, okay?
That's really nice.
Yes, really
I
nice.
started to do it twice and
Didn't get to finish. It was a lot. It's a long chapter. Yeah. Lori finished? Woo! Okay, so
I wrote it out. I don't often do the homework. So I have to tell everybody.
so you did a good job, Lori. So what you need to do is take my sheet and compare and see how I did. If I'm way off.
Yours is so much neater. Mine is not right.
Well, just see. I was gonna start to handwrite and go, wow, this is long. Maybe it's faster if I type it. So I just typed it. So anyway, so that's for you if you want to look at it. But anyway, so that was on our lesson about faithfulness, and the main point of it, even if you didn't do it, the main point was to see how different Christians are called to faithfulness in different ways. You know, some on that list were called to move. They had to be faithful in God's request and move, right? Others were faithful clear to the end and had to give their life. That was what they were called to be faithful to. I mean, death. They had to give their life. So there's lots of ways God calls us to be faithful, and that was the point of going through that Hebrews chapter 11. So we each have our call in our life, what He's going to ask us to go through, or do, or be faithful to Him about. So that's what that was all about. So this week we're moving on to our next fruit, gentleness, right? So we're going to talk about gentleness. And as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, sometimes the fruit of kindness is translated as gentleness, depending on your version of the Bible. And that makes this a little confusing because they literally are two different fruits. They have similar characteristics and come out similarly when they're displayed. But the kindness fruit that we already discussed is more of the actions outward towards other people. We're being kind towards other people, gentle towards them in our behavior and actions. But the gentleness fruit that we're talking about tonight is in regards to the inner self. We're gentle on the inside. We're a gentle person. It's our characteristic, our trait. So that's the difference. One's inward and one's more outward. That's why it's one of the cluster of the inward man fruit. So that's why it's in this cluster. So the Greek word for gentleness in Galatians 5:23 means gentleness, humility, meekness, or mildness. So you can see it translated that way in different versions as well. We kind of have a tendency to think of that type of person as being soft-spoken, never putting up a fight. Yes, Miss Beth? Oh, Beth is that way. I'm sorry. I should have recognized that right off the bat. I'm sorry, Beth.
Did I say she was like that?
Yes.
I didn't mean to be surprised. I was thinking demure.
Demure. Yes, that's who I am. I'm very demure.
He lies. His building's gonna get straight. Right?
But at least we'll go up in the flames with a new carpet.
And we'll all go down.
But But we kind of we have a tendency to think that a gentle person has to always be soft spoken, just so sweet.
That would be me.
Right? We kind of picture that. But in biblical times, gentleness or meekness meant far more than that, than our modern day English kind of version of it. And so Billy Graham and another commentator I had read, I guess I went back to the original translations of it. They both said the same thing. It carried the idea of being tamed like a wild horse that has been brought under control. So it's you, who you are on the inside, unlike Claudia, right?
Okay, and I just think of, I know we all love to joke around too, but I know my worst thing is my mouth. And you think of like, when you, that's what gets me in trouble. But it's like, do you see like a wild horse, what's the first thing you do to
The
the
bridle,
horse?
yeah.
It's like, it talks about our tongue.
Yes.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's part of the gentleness is our tongue, how the use of our tongue. But Peter, oh, go ahead.
When you said brought under control, I was thinking of self-control, which is another one. Why isn't it?
Well, they all work together, but it's your spirit is in control. It's
I'm just thinking
your
one
character.
less thing we'd have to memorize.
But self-control is far more expansive in what it involves, and you'll find out next week.
Oh boy.
Next week's lesson is all about me.
It's all about you.
Yes,
This week it's me.
this week is Beth, next week is me. So anyway,
Remember this.
so it's like a wild horse that's been brought under control. So I thought of Peter as a good example of this. Wasn't he known as the son of thunder? Right?
No, I thought it was James and John.
Or is it James and John?
Yeah.
Yeah, James and John. But what was Peter also known for?
Impetuous.
Yes, he was impetuous, yes. And he had that quick temper action type personality, right? Not very gentle, not very gentle. So let's read a display of Peter's natural character in Matthew 26, 51 through 53. And suddenly, one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword, struck the servant of the high priest, and cut off his ear. But Jesus said to him, "Put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Or do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels?" He could perfectly take care of himself, couldn't he? Because he was all on God. So, yes, out of wanting to protect Jesus, it wasn't that Peter was trying to be bad. He was trying to protect Jesus while he swung the sword and cut off Malchus's ear. It was an act of kindness, but it was impulsive, right? And it was he had an uncontrolled anger and impulsiveness about him that needed to get in shape. Because what?
Have you noticed that the ones that Jesus or God has chosen to be
Disciples.
his disciples and his servants were very strong men? Paul was not a wimp. He was very well educated, and he started out, and I just think, we have to realize that God does not want us to be run over.
No.
And we misinterpret, like you said, that meekness part. But we need to be strong in the Lord and figure out what he thinks. Like women who don't choose, but sometimes are mistaken in their role as being abused, or someone thinking less of them because they're a woman. Right. That doesn't mean you want to go out and be, carry a sign and march, but I think women of God need to realize how strong they are, and how God picks strong people.
It's all how you take care of it, how you take care of the issues. That's really the difference. That's that control that comes into play. It's the way we take care of issues, not just angrily busting out and taking care of things. So like with Peter, when Pentecost came and he received the Holy Spirit, he started changing. That's what happens. You see him become bold in the Lord, right? Able to preach and teach and heal and witness and be a leader in the church, or the leader of the church at that time, the beginnings of it. So he developed, and as you watch him go through the book of Acts, he seems to not really have any more of those outbursts, those impetuous acts, that impulsiveness that he's changing with the Holy Spirit. He's becoming a gentler man, although still strong, because he was able to still stand up to the Pharisees and Sadducees of his day and witness. And he was still strong enough to lead a church. You can't be super meek and mild and lead a new church. You know, when they're developing things, you have to be strong enough to do that. So his gentleness came in through the Holy Spirit as he went through time. He's one of the ones you could see there was a change in him. So let's look at what Jesus said about gentleness in Matthew 5:5. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Now this meek is the other word for gentle, same original Greek word. So what does Jesus mean that the meek or gentle will inherit the earth? Any ideas? You wouldn't think they would. Think it would take an army to inherit the earth, right? Somebody strong. Well, Jesus, our good shepherd, is saying the wolves won't cause his gentle sheep, that's what we are, we're gentle sheep, to be devoured or pushed around or run out of the green pastures of his earth. He's our good shepherd. He's going to take care of us even if we're behaving in a gentle manner as we should be. He's going to take care of us. He's going to provide for us and take care of us. He'll protect us. And we see a small example of this back in the 1600s and 1700s. Of course, maybe it's not that small, but... Too fast? Here, there you go. Is it there?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Well, and if we could win the battle on our own, we wouldn't need him.
No, that's true.
Say again.
If we could win the battle on our own, we wouldn't need him.
So back in the 1600s and 1700s, much of Europe was pushing around the Christians, wanting them to follow the rules of the state churches that were running things back then, whether it was the Episcopalians or the Catholic Church, in the Roman version or in the English version. Whatever version of church, they were trying to control the Christians and make them follow all the rules, but yet the Christians, like the Puritans and other groups, wanted to follow the Bible. They wanted to follow their faith. They didn't want to be told by a church what they needed to do. They wanted to follow the Bible because that was just the government controlling them through the churches. So they stood up and left and went to America. God blessed them for being, you didn't see them stand up and fight. They left and God moved them on and provided a place for them. And he blessed them. God did not let his sheep get run over by the state church, the political leaders, the kings and queens that were telling them what to do. He provided a whole new blessed home for them, gave them America as a wonderful place to go. So even though they were gentle and didn't fight back per se and just left, he provided a new place for them. So it's kind of like a little miniature version of what he'll do for his sheep when they stay faithful to him and stick to his word. He'll take care of them. He's not going to let the world completely push them around. He's going to take care of his sheep one way or the other. But there's another side to gentleness to know that's important. Gentleness is likened to being modest and humble, having humility. It's instead of being flamboyant like this pretty peacock, right? Sometimes you can have a self-indulgent spirit, prideful, showing off, wanting to be the star, being on top. I don't think any of you have that problem ever, right? No? But you know, it's pretty much the opposite character trait of what we see going on in the world today. You don't see a lot of gentleness, you see a lot of pride, a lot of showing off, a lot of flamboyancy. I want to be the top dog. And what do you think all these shows on TV are, whether it's American Idol, The Voice, Top Runway Model, whatever.
Golden Bachelorette.
Golden Bachelorette.
Now we know what you watch.
all these crazy competitions for people who want to be the next star. Everybody wants to be on top and be known and be famous, and they want their pride. It feels better when they're being acknowledged and they're showing off. It's a very opposite way of being gentle. We should not be pride-filled. We should not be self-seeking as Jesus' followers. We should have a gentle spirit. Pride is the opposite of what gentleness is. Let's read a verse about that. How do you say this? 3 John 9? 3 John. Huh?
It is the verse.
I know, but I've looked it up, but I don't get it.
Okay, I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence among them, does not receive us. The point is Diotrephes wants to be on top. He's ahead of...
Threatened by them.
Yeah, he felt threatened by John and his team. So wants to be preeminent. He had pride. He wanted to be on top. So he thought he was superior to others, and we shouldn't be that way. A gentle spirit is not superior to others. And that's an attitude that needs to change. What does Colossians 1:10 tell us? That you may walk worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing him, being fruitful in every good work, and increasing in the knowledge of God. We should be more concerned with walking worthy of the Lord and pleasing him over what others think of us. I mean, that's basically what Diotrephes was doing. He wanted to know that he was the best, and everybody thought he was the best guy around, and who cares about this John guy? But we should be more concerned about what the Lord thinks. So this is where our pride will get checked. We'll be put in our place if we're walking worthy of the Lord, right? Oh, okay.
Which, that goes with just saying, like, if we could do it on our own, we wouldn't need him, and we would become exactly that prideful, and we would be worshiping ourselves.
Right. Because that's what we're doing. We're worshiping ourselves. It's an easy trap to fall into, seeking attention for ourselves one way or another, whether it's a job we've done or a skill we have or how good we look. I have that problem all the time.
You can't help it.
You can't help it, beautiful, and they can't.
I just, anyway.
It's your birthday and say, oh, you're right, you do.
It's my...
I did not say that.
I've had my peacock feathers plucked one too many times. So we shouldn't be seeking to draw attention to ourselves. A gentle person, a gentle spirit is going to be not that way. Just the opposite of what the world is.
Well, I just had, I'll share with you ladies. I just had this past couple weeks something at work that it felt very kind of like unappreciated and even dishonored and mistrusted as a teacher. And it was an area that I knew really a lot about. And I was hurt, but I was also ready, staying up all night thinking about what I should say. And who I should go talk to, and who I should let know how it really is and what really is going on. And I was just kind of sick about it the one night after getting an email. And I got up the next morning and I really just prayed to God and just poured it all out to him. And I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who I was saying it to, but God's really trying to teach me to just literally actually do this and hand it to him. And it was just like, God, he showed, I opened my Bible to read my 90-day plan, which is we're well into 7 months. But when I opened my Bible, I wasn't on the right page yet, and this verse just popped out was about God fighting your battles, and you are not to fight your battles. God will fight your battles for you. And I just asked him, I just need peace. I don't have peace. I need all the peace I can. And I had the best peaceful day that day, and I have ever since. And he just keeps reminding me of all my blessings and things that that you don't need. And that's where it's sneaky, because I felt very justified. You can feel very justified and then you realize that's your pride coming in. That's your, and we don't need that affirmation from people.
Right.
We need it from God.
And it's hard. We feel like we have to. That's what makes us feel significant or, valued.
Yes.
And so we seek those, whether it's compliments or reassurances
How
or...
many likes?
Yeah, I mean, likes, yeah.
That's what I was going to say about this verse. It says, pray this in order that you may live a life worthy of the Lord and may please him in every way, bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God. I mean, I'm sorry, but the rest of your life you couldn't accomplish that.
Well, no,
But
it's why you're supposed to
it's a
just seek it.
challenge.
Yeah.
To be worthy of God.
But that's where our focus will be. So we wouldn't be worrying so much about other people and what they think or getting our feelings worked up or being pride-filled if we were focused on just pleasing God. Stop worrying about everybody else. And that's what we all have a tendency to do. We worry about everybody else all the time. Somebody's upset with me. Somebody don't like me. We all, I know I have that weakness. I'm sure a lot of us have dealt with that. So, gentleness has a sensitive regard for others and is careful never to be unfeeling for the rights of others. Now Terry and I get into this because he's oversensitive. I think. I say, you're worrying too much about their feelings, you know? And I'm like, just let it go. But you know, that's a good thing that he is that caring, you know, that he does worry about what people think, but that can harm you if you go too far because you're worrying when you shouldn't about people's feelings. But, you know, and sometimes I'm not sensitive enough, you know, I should be more sensitive. Because I'm thinking they need to toughen up, you know, or whatever goes through your mind about someone. You know, they need to be. Yeah, well, Terry and I are always balanced. Like one where I'm weak in, he's strong in, or vice versa, which has always been good. We can kind of talk through things and come to some middle ground, you know, work it out. But Paul reminds us of this in Romans 12:3 and 10. He says, "For I say, through the grace given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly as God has dealt to each one a measure of faith." And then 10, he said, "Be kindly affectionate to one another with brotherly love and honor, giving preference to one another." So our focus should be on being that loving, kind, caring about others first. And that would help put down some of our pride as well, right? And put us in a more gentle spirit in the way we treat others and react to other situations.
In Philippians 2, my favorite chapter is Jesus coming to earth, and that we should always think like him to think of others first. Just what it says. But I mean, that's Philippians 2 is just awesome about giving up yourself, like Jesus. Just says, be like Jesus.
Yeah.
Small thing.
Got to put away our pride. Others first, right? So gentleness means we should be humble and put others first. Because when we're demanding our way or wanting something our way, we're not putting other people's first. So we have to sometimes sacrifice what we may want, be humble about the situation, and take care of the other person's need first, right? So true gentleness will be seen in the face of adversity as well, and it will confuse those watching us usually. Jesus had a prime example of this in his display of gentleness during his trials. You know, that poor man went through 6 trials. That was a lot of trials when you count up what he went through that night. I mean, they rushed him from place to place, picking on him from place to place. But during all those trials, he remained calm and gentle. He could have got angry. Here he is, God in the flesh. And like he said to Peter, I can call down legions of angels from my Father to take care of you. Yet he did not do that in any one of those trials. When he was beaten, when he was crucified, he didn't do any of that. He remained gentle spirit. A prime example to us that this is what Beth was talking about. Your actions in the face of enemies or things that come against you when the fight's being thrown your way, how are you going to respond? Are you going to be gentle of spirit? And Jesus is a prime example to us of that. And his behavior was prophesied of in Isaiah 53:7. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and a sheep before its shearers is silent. He opened not his mouth. That's a gentle spirit, a gentle sheep, and that's what we're supposed to be, right? So gentleness is a quiet inner strength. Doesn't mean you're weak. Like Jesus displayed in his trials, like that others may label as weakness. Sometimes people think if you don't immediately stand up and fight for a cause, you're weak. That has nothing to do with it. God may be calling you to be quiet in a situation. That's the way it's supposed to be. He wants you to be quiet. He'll tell you when it's time to speak. And don't worry what people may call you. They call you chicken. I always think about Back to the Future, the first movie, they make that big point. They're picking on him and trying to egg him on to get him to do stuff constantly, calling him chicken. And he was just holding back. He learned that in the end, he needed to hold back, right? Was that by movie 3 he figured that out? It took him 3 movies. I forget. At some point, you learn to stop giving in to them, egging them on. You sometimes need to hold your tongue, not fight back, not jump out and do something just because people are telling you to. Remain gentle. Remain calm. Gentleness is displayed when we resist our pride and do not fight back, and instead let God fight for us. This is what Beth was dealing with, huh? And I had this advice given to us many, many years ago when we were having a situation where people were picking on us, as I'll say. And even though we were in the right, we were told the best thing we can do is not to fight for ourselves, so to speak. Don't fight back. Let God fight for you. And that is a hard thing to do when people are coming at you and picking on you. But if you just trust God and let him take care of it, he will. He'll pray for their attitude. Pray for your attitude. Pray for his intervention. Let him take care of you. So let's read a few verses about letting God defend us rather than ourselves. So we'll start in Psalm 141:3. Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the doors of my lips. And look how much...
And your face.
Yeah. Yeah. Put on the poker faces, they say, right?
Yeah, it's called me a name with your face.
Yeah, because sometimes I've had to tell Terry, okay, I know you're being silent, but I can still read your face.
Yeah. Your countenance, everything like it.
Yeah? Yeah, and your stiffness of your muscles.
Were you gentle when you said it?
Maybe.
One of the hardest things I ever did with a boss of 155 people was to not talk to them with my arms crossed.
Oh.
Or sometimes I'm just resting, I'm not really, or I sit with my hands on my hips, and they'd be like, why are you mad? Not mad, why you got your hands on your hips? Dude, gotta put them somewhere.
It would throw them off if you did something really weird, but anyway.
That's why teachers have pockets.
Yes, yeah. Then they say, what's in your pockets, teacher? You got candy in there?
Always.
But yeah, can you think about like David, all the stuff that came against him, his friends and his family that turned on him at different points, and he's asking God, guard my lips. Help me not to just speak out. Most of the time, that speaking out, it just makes it worse. Because you tend to let go with your emotions and your words, and you say things you shouldn't. I'm living proof of that. I've done that way too many times. But, there's a verse, and I think I forgot to look it up. It talks about the spilling over of the glass of water, I think in Proverbs, like once you let it go. Once that glass knocks over, whew, it's all gone. All that water just spilled all over the place.
Flooring.
Oh.
Why is the water on the floor? No, I'm trying to get it out.
And they may have really hurt someone.
Right. We have to think about yourself. You know what you've heard from when people say things towards you. Have you forgotten them? Probably not. You still remember what they said.
Just forget, but
Yeah, you never quite forget. It might get duller, the emotions calm down, but you still kind of always remember. You can't unsee what you saw. You can't unhear what you heard.
Well,
So,
that lets you know though where all that's coming from, because it says when we ask forgiveness, God moves it as far as the east is from the west. But Satan is the one that remembers. And we need to call him out more often for who he is and what he's trying to do to us. And be bolder with him and tell him he can't do that. We are the children of the King.
right.
We are God's children, and God will fight for us, but we have to turn it over to him. And forgiveness is one thing, sometimes trust is another.
Yeah,
So we have to remember that
yeah,
in God's world, Satan has no power unless we allow him to.
right. Yeah, we give him too much rope, don't we?
We give him too much credit. We give him too much power over our lives.
Yeah,
God would never have us be depressed and feeling really bad about ourselves and things we do. It's Satan that does it.
yeah,
I mean, we've got to get our heads in the game and realize this is a spiritual battle.
yep,
It's not a battle. I mean, God covered it. That we wrestle against principalities and powers,
yep.
rulers of darkness. But sometimes we don't
We don't think that way.
we don't get it all in it. I can't say it, so get it out of my mouth.
It's okay. Romans 12:19. Beloved, do not avenge yourselves, but rather give place to wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. So it's up to God to take care of the situation. He knows the person's heart, the situation. You may want to take care of it, but let him take care of it the best way he knows how. Because he knows what's going to happen. He may know they're going to turn around. You know, we don't need to step in and try to take care of the situation and make it right ourselves. 1 Peter 3:9, not returning evil for evil or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary blessing, knowing that you were called to this, that you may inherit a blessing. So someone says something to you, you don't just turn around and say something bad to them. You're supposed to do the opposite. Bless them, pray for them, help them. You know, we're not supposed to do the same thing they do. We're better than that. We're Jesus' kids. We're better than that.
Well, like Beth said, we have peace at our fingertips, so to speak. God will give us peace if we'll let him.
It's a trust. Trusting him is what gives you that peace. So just as Jesus remained gentle in the face of his enemies and didn't just wipe them out with a word as he could have, so should we remain gentle. If Jesus can do it, we can do it. We've got the Holy Spirit to help us. It's really tempting to fire back, especially when we're right. But we need to be focused on our end goal with our relationships with people. We're trying to win even the evil enemies over to the Lord, right? And gentleness might help us to do that. So, even if they're disgusting people being so mean to you, our goal, even with them, is to win them to the Lord. So if we have a gentle spirit, a forgiving spirit, a kind spirit, you're more likely to make headway with winning them to the Lord. Okay? So, anger and revenge won't. Proverbs 16:24. Pleasant words are like honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the bones. So you're going to get further with people, even the bad people, with kind words than you are saying the mean stuff. I know me, first thing is, if you're not slow to speak, what happens? You've said something you're not supposed to. I fall into that trap way too many times. You know, don't be fast to speak. You've got to put out some sweetness. Let them hear kind words from you, gentle words. She goes, I know my mother.
Was it a soft answer turns away wrath?
Don't fight back. just reading your countenance.
Her arms are
Yeah. She was like this. Oh, sunglasses.
Next week, I'm like, can I have a hoodie and sunglasses?
Oh, no.
No, we can still see you. It won't work.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll look for you.
So,
You'll still shine.
so what did Jesus command us to do in Matthew 11:29? Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. We are to learn from Jesus how to be gentle and lowly, and then we'll find rest or peace for ourselves, even when we are burdened. Got to ask him, go to him, read about him, pray. You know, every person is powerful. We can speak words that influence others. We can act in ways that help or hurt. We can choose what influences or informs our words and our actions, our inner self. You know, and gentleness is what constrains and channels that ability we have in us. You know, how we're going to use our words. Now,
Too quick.
oh, sorry. Okay, go back.
I'm lagging behind.
Go, you got it. So,
Sorry, thank you.
everybody got it?
Yes.
Okay. So, gentleness seems to be missing from the world these days. You can go online and just type the words Parliament Brawl, and you will see Parliament brawls from all over the world. These are the leaders of countries. Whether it's Britain, Ukraine, Ghana, wherever, there are tons of places where they're breaking out in fights in the middle of their parliament sessions. I mean, I don't know if I've noticed that in our Senate yet. They've said there's been...
They say things like, well, according to the esteemed gentleman from Colorado.
Yeah, the words are starting to get out of control in our Senate. Like, it's the first step, I think. Well, I know, but it seems worse. Yeah, we haven't gotten into the fist fights yet. This is Ukraine. We're in the middle of a war, but look what we're doing. We're fighting in Parliament. And the gentleness just seems to be gone. If our leaders can't even be gentle, what is going on?
Have you imagined being a leader though and trying to, I can't imagine,
Trying to run the country.
trying to run a country and everybody's opinions and no, I couldn't do it.
Church,
Yeah.
church meetings are hard enough.
Right?
Oh my gosh. Okay. But look at all the ways we're not seeing gentleness anymore. We're seeing rioting in the streets, right? We're seeing people cancel people. That's not a gentle spirit, is it? We're seeing kids get so upset they take guns to school. Not gentleness in that atmosphere or area. We're seeing children used and abused. No gentleness, right?
Killed.
We see bullying online and at school or wherever. We see these parliament fights. I mean, who would have thought Britain, who seems so reserved,
Right.
you know?
That's subtle, seething.
You know, but no, they brawl too. There are pictures of them brawling. So, I mean, the gentleness, you know, is gone in this world, it seems like. Everyone is out for self. That's the pride. You know, my way is right, so I'm going to beat you up if you don't agree with me. You know, it's just, it's sad. Gentleness is gone. We all think we got to yell and fight about everything. And there's just nothing like gentleness being displayed anymore. So I was trying to think of someone who had a gentle way about them. And Mr. Rogers came to mind. I know, he was a man, he was a Presbyterian minister, and he was trying to live out his faith, and that's very noble of him. And I think he was known for being gentle on camera and behind the scenes, at home, wherever. He was a gentle man. And he wanted to teach others, and especially children, about Christ in a whole other way, by teaching the Christ-like characteristics, right? And so he used his puppets and his songs and his gentle way to teach children for generations. You know, they all learned from him, and it even carries on today. I don't know if it's still going on, even the cartoon, Daniel Tiger, right? Teaching all some of the same concepts, even though he's gone. He was dedicated to his faith, and he studied his Bible every morning, and he prayed every morning, and that's how he learned to be a gentle man. He was spending his time learning from Jesus how to be a gentle, kind, helpful person, and he was gaining that fruit from his time with the Lord. So I want us to reread Matthew 11:29 again. What does it say? Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I'm gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Mr. Rogers yoked himself to Jesus through that Bible time and prayer. That's one of the ways we're yoking ourselves to him. If we want to learn to be gentle and lowly, we have to spend time, gentle and lowly, we have to spend time with Jesus. In the morning, before we start our crazy days, all throughout the day, we need to be yoked to him, talking to him, and learning how to be gentle. So I'm giving you a little tiny homework assignment. It may not be tiny, but when you can, read stories like John 8, 1 through 11, and see if you can see Jesus' gentleness on display. You might think of some other stories to read, but if you start watching Jesus, studying what he did, how he was with people, how he interacted with people, you will see his gentleness on display. But that didn't mean when it wasn't time, when he had to take care of business, he took care of business. But he had full rights to do what he had to do because he's God in the flesh, right? Because we know he turned over the tables in the temple and said, hey, clean up your act, get it right. He was teaching them what God expects. But he interacted very gently in many of the stories, if you could see how he treats people. And I think in this story, he's showing a side of gentleness with the person he's dealing with, but also being very honest and truthful with the other group of people. So he's not weak by doing this side. He's still telling them, you take care of your business. So, yoke yourself to Jesus through prayer and his word and learn his trait of gentleness.
I think it's always important to, because a yoke does not sound very, appealing, but the verse before it, come to me, all you are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Because we will be weary, we will be burdened in this world. You will be, no matter what. That's how this is the world we live in. And your circumstances, what you always said, it's not always going to be like we all know. That your circumstances will be hard. So to have Jesus to say, I'm carrying it with you, that's where the yoke looks appealing.
Right.
That's where it's like, he's going to carry that.
Well, the thing with the yoke, usually the stronger animal was put with the weaker animal, and he really was the one carrying most of the yoke. It was just more like on you. So that's why you want to be yoked to Jesus, because he's stronger.
There's a picture of the cross where, is it Peter or Simon helped him carry a cross?
A guy named Simon, yeah.
It's like they were yoked together almost.
Yeah, he carried it for him.